inequality will be the death of democracy. I cannot be a million times richer than you and treat you the same way as I do myself. That's not going to happen. The kind of gaps, I think the gigantic feature of our times, worldwide, and I think in India particularly, the fastest growing sector is not software or computers or telecom or cyberspace, it is inequality. At the global level, the inequality between nations and the mafia-like organization of international relations mean that increasingly the multilateral bodies are overriding national sovereignty. People can vote for what they like in India, but the WTO is going to impose sanctions on new governments that try something different. The World Bank is going to undermine governments that try to do a different kind of thing. You're seeing it in Latin America now. The IMF is going to squeeze those nations which actually try responding to the democratic aspirations of their people. Okay, so people can vote the way they like, they can participate in their local democracy. At the global level, the multilateral agencies have been hijacked into being dalals, agents, or executive agencies of corporate power. When you privatize everything, a new government, however radical, however progressive, when it comes to power, finds that the instruments of revenue are gone. You've privatized water, you've privatized electricity, and all you guys are ganging up at Kyoto and doing a pretty good job of trying to privatize oxygen, pay and pollute. Okay? So you've got everything privatized. When a government comes to power, what does it do? It has no instruments of taxation. It has a very few instruments of taxation. It has fewer and fewer sources of revenue. So what does it do? It goes back to the World Bank and says, okay, we'll accept the rules if you'll give us some money so that we don't have food riots in our country. And this is the kind of squeeze that's being applied on people. So however democratic you are internally, if you are not in the big and the powerful league, your democracy will be subverted. When local democracy meets global corporate power triumphs most of the time. Not always, but for the time being, that's the trend. So that's one horrible thing about the subversion of democracy. Capitalism does not strengthen democracy. It may strengthen democracy in the rich countries and for the rich in the rich countries. It undermines and subverts democracy in all these countries. So, you know what happens? We can do what we like in Vidarbha. We can try what we can to save the farmer from the crisis. And we get advice from the World Bank and from USA and others. Your farmers should diversify. They should grow something else. You don't have to stop your subsidies to your worthless cotton. You don't, or your overpriced, highly expensive cotton which you subsidize with billions of dollars, the USA and the EU. But our farmer who grows cotton in black cotton soil, in soils that are meant for cotton, our farmer who grows that cotton at an extremely competitive price, he should diversify. This is democracy. You have the most undemocratic international framework, and then we are trying to be democracies within that. Take a tiny country like Uruguay. It's a country of 3 million people. I am ashamed. I think that Uruguay has shown a giant superpower like India. What a bunch of idiots we are when it comes to water, which we are trying to privatize, while the people of Uruguay have passed a referendum, the first nation in the world holding a referendum and passing a law, constitutional amendment, to forbid forever the privatization of water. That's democratic. That's democracy. People have said this is a fundamental resource. It's a human right. It's a basic human right. The right of people to water, to well-being, to living. That's a human right. That's democracy. That's democratic. And a nation of 3 million people has put this great IT superpower to shame, in my opinion. I think the Uruguayan model is the way to go on privatization of basic resources. Certain things should never be privatized. I want to talk about inequality and the market. Okay, market fundamentalism is as religious a fundamentalism as any other. It's got its own popes and pontiffs and archbishops. It's got more televangelists than any other religion. They're there on every channel, every night, teaching you what's good about how the market is good for you. Every channel. They don't wear cassocks and big caps, but they wear 3-piece suits. That's also there. Capitalism gives you choice. Market gives you choice. Ika, there are 2 billion hungry people in the world. If they had a choice, they would choose to eat. Since they can't eat, as so many analysts before me have pointed out, since they can't eat, maybe they don't have a choice. Are 2 billion people choosing to be hungry? I don't think so. The super rich in this country earn more than what this country of 1 billion people spends on health. Okay, we have the largest number of billionaires in Asia. Till this year it was Japan. We knocked Japan off the map. We have the largest number of billionaires in Asia, but we have life expectancy lower than that of Bolivia, Tajikistan, or many other countries. In the last 15 years, the amount of food that poor people are eating in this country has declined very sharply. The per capita availability of food grain per Indian declined from 510 grams per Indian in 1991 to 437 grams in 2005. That's first of all, 510 grams per person was not a huge average by global standards. But you are talking about, you can see the wealth in the cities, right? So if you can see the wealth in the cities, please explain to me why the average poor rural family is consuming 100 kilograms of food grain less than they did 6 or 7 years ago. I agree with those who argue it's not growth with justice. It's growth through justice. That's the only growth you can sustain.